Hello everyone. Today I will be talking about ankle joint deformities. So myself Dr. Sneha Bhatia, MPT in Orthopedics and Sports Rehabilitation, in charge principal at Late Srimati S.G. Patel Institute of Physiotherapy. So the first deformity is the equinus deformity. It is characterized by limited dorsiflexion which is less than 10 degree at the talocrural joint, usually as a result of contracture of the gastrocnemius or soleus muscle or Achilles tendon. It causes increased stress to forefoot. It can cause plantar fasciitis, metatarsalgia and heel spurs. So in the picture we can see that the patient is having equinus deformity. Second is the club foot. Club foot is a congenital deformity. It is also called as Talipes equinovarus. It can be caused because of genetic causes as well as environmental factors. If the club foot is of resistant type, then it requires surgery. In this picture, we can see that the baby is having club foot deformity. Hindfoot valgus and hindfoot varus. So hindfoot varus, it is a structural deviation that involves the inversion of the calcaneus when the subtalar joint is in neutral position. And hindfoot valgus means it is the structural deformity that involves the eversion of the calcaneus when the subtalar joint is in neutral position. So remember, in the hindfoot varus there is inversion of the calcaneus, and in hindfoot valgus there is eversion of the calcaneus. So this is the picture showing the hindfoot deformity. In the picture A we can see the hindfoot varus, and in picture B we can see the hindfoot valgus. Pes cavus, which is also called as hollow foot. So longitudinal arches are accentuated and the metatarsal heads are lower in relation to the hindfoot, so that there is a dropping of the forefoot on the hindfoot at the tarsometatarsal joints. Pes cavus is also associated with neurological condition. So in the X-ray we can see that the patient is having pes cavus or hollow foot. Pes cavus is classified into three types: mild, moderate and severe. NWB means non-weight bearing, WB means weight bearing, and ROM means range of motion. So in the mild classification of pes cavus, longitudinal arch appears high in non-weight bearing position, longitudinal arch almost normal in weight bearing position, toes are clawed in non-weight bearing position, toes may be normal in weight bearing position, and may have hindfoot varus. In moderate classification of pes cavus, longitudinal arch is high in non-weight bearing and weight bearing position, claw toes are evident both in NWB and WB. Callus under prominent metatarsal head, dorsiflexion may be limited, forefoot plantar flexed on the hindfoot. In the severe pes cavus condition, calcaneus cannot pronate past 5 degree, heel is in varus condition and foot is in valgus. There is decreased range of motion in the foot. Pes planus, that is also called as flat foot. It is a congenital deformity, or it may result from trauma, muscle weakness, ligament laxity, dropping of the talar head, paralysis, or a pronated foot. Infants have flat feet up to 2 years of age. So in the picture we can see that the patient is having flat foot or pes planus. So there are two types of flat foot. One is the rigid and congenital type, and the second one is the acquired or the flexible type. So in the rigid and congenital type of flat foot, calcaneus is in valgus and talus faces medially and downward. Soft tissue contracture and bony changes are seen in case of rigid flat foot. In acquired or flexible flat foot, the foot is in mobile condition. Tibia torsion or femoral torsion and coxa vara can cause acquired or flexible flat foot. Pes planus, again it is classified into three types, that is mild, moderate and severe. Mild means 4 to 6 degree hindfoot valgus will be there and 4 to 6 degree of forefoot valgus will be there. In moderate type of pes planus, 6 to 10 degree of hindfoot valgus and 6 to 10 degree of forefoot varus will be seen. Poor shock absorption at the heel strike will be there. In severe case of pes planus, 10 to 15 degree of hindfoot valgus, 8 to 10 degree of forefoot varus, and equinus deformity may be present. Rocker bottom foot. So forefoot is dorsiflex on the hind foot. This results in a broken midfoot so that the medial and the longitudinal arches are absent and the foot appears to be bent the wrong way. So example, it is convex to the floor instead of normal concave. So normally our foot is in concave, but in rocker bottom foot deformity it will be convex to the floor. So in this picture we can see A and B picture. So A is showing the patient foot and B is the X-ray of the rocker bottom foot. Splay foot, it is broadening of the forefoot. Weakness of the intrinsic muscles can cause splay foot. Weakness of intermetatarsal ligament can also cause splay foot. So we can see in the picture how the healthy foot looks, and in the picture on the right hand side we can see there is broadening of the forefoot, so it is called as splay foot. Next is Morton's metatarsalgia. What is Morton's metatarsalgia? Formation of an interdigital neuroma as a result of injury to one of the digital nerves. Pain on the outer border of the forefoot will be there. Morton's metatarsalgia is more common in women. Intermittent and cramp-like pain will be felt by the patient. Pain is elicited when metatarsal bones are squeezed together. Exostosis, that is bony spur. Exostosis is an abnormal bony outgrowth extending from the surface of the bone. So what can cause exostosis or bony spur? Overuse, trauma and overpressure can cause the bony spur. So common sites of exostosis are dorsal aspect of the tarsometatarsal joint, the head of the fifth metatarsal bone, the calcaneus, the insertion of the plantar fascia and the superior aspect of the navicular bone. Hallux valgus, medial deviation of the head of the first metatarsal bone in relation to the center of the body, and lateral deviation of the head in relation to the center of the foot. So that is called as hallux valgus. Hallux valgus is also common in case of women, and women are more commonly affected compared to men because women are mostly wearing high heels and fashionable shoes. So there are two types of hallux valgus. One is the congruence hallux valgus and second is the pathological hallux valgus. So in congruence hallux valgus, it is non-progressive condition in that 20 to 30 degree angle will be there and it requires little treatment. In pathological hallux valgus, it is a progressive deformity. The angle will be around 20 to 60 degree and the bony surfaces will not be congruent. So in this picture we can see hallux valgus metatarsophalangeal angle. The first picture is showing the normal angle, that is around 8 to 20 degree. The second picture is the congruence. In that we can see 20 to 30 degree angle. And in the third picture, which is the pathological hallux valgus, in that we can see 20 to 60 degree angle. An example of the congruence hallux valgus, that is the picture A. Picture B is the pathological hallux valgus with bilateral bunions and overlapped toes. Metatarsus primus varus. So hallux valgus cases almost 80% are caused by the metatarsus primus varus, in which the intermetatarsal or metatarsal angle is increased to more than 15 degrees. Abduction deformity of the first metatarsal bone in relation to the others, that is called as metatarsus primus varus. So this is the picture. Normal foot, the first picture on the left hand side is showing the normal foot, and right hand side picture in which we can see that the angle is more than 15 degrees, that is called as metatarsus primus varus. Bunion or Taylor's bunion, so it is characterized by prominence of the lateral aspect of the fifth toe metatarsal head. It is associated with the pronated foot. So this is the picture showing the bunion. In picture A we can see very prominent bunions. So A, bunions apparent on both the feet, and B, schematic lines drawing of a bunion. So we can see exostosis can be there and then bursa can also go for swelling, and there will be callus formation. Tuft toe is a hyperextension injury or sprain combined with compressive loading to the metatarsophalangeal joint of the hallux, related with flexible footwear and artificial turf, and it can cause functional disability. Hamartose, it consists of an extension contracture at the metatarsophalangeal joint and flexion contracture at the proximal interphalangeal joint. The distal interphalangeal joint may be flexed, straight or hyperextended. Interosseous muscles are unable to hold the proximal phalanx, and it causes the flexion effect in case of hamartose. So what can cause the hamartose? Imbalance of the muscles, hereditary factors, as well as poorly fitting shoes. All this can cause hamartose. Mallet toe, it is the flexion deformity of the DIP joint, that is distal interphalangeal joint. It can occur on any four of the lateral toes. It is usually asymptomatic, commonly seen with ill-fitting or poorly designed footwear. So in this picture we can see picture A is showing the claw toes, picture B is showing the hammer toes, and picture C is showing the mallet toe. So for today's video, I have taken the content from the book Orthopedic Physical Assessment, David Magee. So thank you for watching this video. If you have enjoyed watching this video, then please subscribe to my channel. Press the bell icon to get notified for the next video, and please share my channel with your friends.